Hello, Matt Blick from Beatles Songwriting Academy with a review of 2 book-length interviews with John Lennon. We have Lennon Remembers, the Rolling Stones interview by Jan Wenner, and we have All We Are Saying by David Sheff, the Playboy interviews. 2 very different books but with the same premise, a no-holds-barred, long-form interview with John Lennon. One released in 1970, one released in 1980. 1970, John Lennon has just released Plastic Ono Band and he's mad as hell and he's not going to take it anymore. He's angry at Dick James, George Martin, Neil Aspinall, Derek Taylor, Peter Brown, John Eastman, the Beatles, the Stones and Hunter Davis. He doesn't like Dylan's New Morning album, Blood, Sweat and Tears, Arthur Janov, the A Hard Day's Night film, the Help film, the Maharishi or Mick Jagger. 1980s John Lennon is in the process of recording the Double Fantasy album and looking forward to another 40 years of creativity. And he's not mad at anyone except George Harrison, who didn't mention him in his autobiography. So let's look at Lennon Remembers first. If I had to sum this up in a sentence, I'd say it is a drunken, angry rant. Here's a quote that sums up Lennon's attitude. I resent being an artist. I resent performing for idiots who don't know anything. It's highly ironic that it's called Lennon Remembers because Lennon doesn't remember anything in this book. He's constantly having to ask Yoko what happened next in the story that he's telling. He asks the interviewer at one point, what was the name of the album with the white drawing on the front? And did it come before Rubber Soul or after? Lennon proclaims himself a genius repeatedly throughout this interview. He also says, Don't Worry Kyoko is one of the best all-time rock and roll records, says Yoko has influenced his music 1,000 times more than Dylan, and says her film of People's Bottoms is just as important culturally as Sgt. Pepper. On the plus side, there are some mentions of anecdotes about some of the songs, and it's quite entertaining to hear him celebrating how he manoeuvred and manipulated people into appointing Alan Klein as their business manager and saying what a great guy Alan Klein is. Moving on to All We Are Saying, the Lennon we find in this book is much easier to spend some time with. We get large sections on just what his life was like as a house husband, his and Yoko's view on parenting, an insight into the recording of Double Fantasy, and a large section where he reminisces about the Beatles songs and how they were written and what he thinks of them. This part of the book has some real insights into the writing process and how John viewed his own songwriting talents as opposed to Paul McCartney's, and not just in some one-upmanship kind of way, but actually the different dynamics and different approaches that they had. On the downside, you get a truly scary window into Yoko's view of parenting. She says too much contact with the child is unhealthy for mothers. In fact, she thinks it would be better if society raised children and not parents. She speaks about taking her own daughter on stage as a kind of uncontrollable instrument, and that's followed up by the confession that they kidnapped Yoko's child by her first marriage. You also get to hear the more esoteric views. John believes that Christian fundamentalism and evolutionism are both as ridiculous as each other. They don't believe smoking causes cancer, and they think that illiteracy in children encourages their psychic abilities. Bottom line, Lennon remembers? No, he doesn't. It's really bizarre to see quotes taken from this book as authoritative when you see what a kind of drunken rant it all is anyway. It's a really hard read, and I would avoid it. All We Are Saying, on the other hand, if you can make it through like the first 100 pages of creepy weirdness, there's a lot of interesting things about music. That's all for now. Check out Beatles Songwriting Academy at BeatlesSongwriting.com. Also, we have a podcast. Well, I say we. Me, really? I have a podcast. You can sign up for that on the website, and that's a monthly subscriber-only podcast. So check it out.
Beatles Songwriting Academy. Here, there and everywhere. But mostly at BeatlesSongwriting.com.